Hello, Internet. My voice cracked. Damn it. I almost had a clean one. Hello, Internet, and welcome to Say Report Jr. Uh, God, podcast. That's what we are. I don't know what almost came out of my mouth. Uh, it's early. Rewinding. One more time.
I'm not
Third
helping you.
attempt. I know you're not. Hello, Internet, and welcome to Say Report Jr., a podcast you should be listening to, subscribe to, and downloading every week. I'm one of your host companions, Zack.
And I'm your other host, Dayle Decker.
I just said it was morning. I know it's water, but I just said it was morning. And the first thing you do
Yep.
is crack open a can.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Nice, refreshing Schweppes, not sponsored, seltzer water.
Schweppes not sponsored. I really want. The funny thing is that I feel like Schweppes is one of the things you put in place of anything like. I mean, it's owned by Pepsi. It is a brand name, but
Is
also, yes.
Never knew that. Never
But
knew
it
it was
feels
owned
like,
by
but
Pepsi.
yeah, because it feels like the most generic thing in the world. Like ginger ale, of all things, feels like you can't have branded. You can't pay for the licensing on ginger ale. That seems ridiculous. Who would ever do that? All ginger ale is public domain.
What? Hold on. There's different types of ginger ale, so what?
I mean, kind
There's
of.
Schweppes,
But yes,
there's Canada Dry,
yeah,
there's
but they all look
Stop
exactly
and
the
Shop
same.
brand.
But they're all green bot. Like, I mean, obviously knockoffs always do that. But like, even when you talk about the actual things, like Canada Dry and Schweppes look like these, like the same person
Well-
sat down, grafted those two things to get like at the same time.
Well, so does cola. Cola
No,
is always
no.
red. Yes,
Yes,
it is.
no,
Yes, it is.
knockoff cola is, but that's because they're trying to trick you. But Pepsi and Coke decidedly look
Well,
different.
yes.
That's what
but
I
Pepsi
mean.
still has red in it. It's in its
Pepsi-
label.
Oh my God.
Cherry Pepsi's got red in it. Is Schweppes the last name? Is that just a word someone was like, hey, we need a name for our seltzer water. What could we get? It's kind of like a portmanteau of seltzer and water. There's an S and a W in it.
It honestly sounds like an old timey word, like Schweppes. Like
Someone
I'm really
do,
thirsty. Yeah, Schweppes this up then.
someone do the entomology. Is that it?
Yes.
The entomology.
Etymology. I think entomology is bugs.
Is
I think
it?
etymology is words.
Well,
Yes.
do whatever you do. Figure out the history of Schweppes, please, and get back to us. Send it to us on Twitter. Yeah, or comment. I don't know. How are you, Zach?
This episode's off the rails already.
It's fine.
I mean, I opened, so how are you is actually how this
that's
works.
true, huh? We go the opposite way. I'm good. It's been 2 weeks since we last casted our voices out into the internet. Do you think that's why it's called a podcast?
Because you're just casting them out there and hoping to God somebody listens? Yes.
Yeah, where does pod come from?
iPod. It was literally when iTunes was created. It was, here's a thing you can put on your iPod. It's
There
a
we
cast. It's a
There we
broadcast.
go.
It's actually broadcast, but also it's
We're learning the origin of words today.
also like not to completely derail things again. Did you know? So this is extremely local. B101,
Yes.
our local oldie station here in Rhode Island. They are owned by iHeartRadio now. Like many radio stations, they're propped up by iHeartRadio, and when you listen to their radio station, they straight up say that they are podcasting from whatever building they're in. They don't say broadcasting anymore. It
Interesting.
took me a long time to realize that that's what was happening because I listened to it a lot at work. But every time that their little stinger would come up, I would be like, how come they're saying broadcast so weird? That's not even like a Rhode Island accent. What's going on? And I realized it's because what they're saying
Broadcast.
is B101 podcasting from blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wait, they just straight up call it that now?
Interesting.
Even as a radio station, they're just calling it podcasting now.
Interesting.
Ugh.
Weird. I haven't heard that because I mainly am listening to Spotify and SiriusXM now. Hey, I haven't listened to actual radio in so long, which makes me
That's fine.
sad.
Much like TV, it just plays the same ads over and over,
Well,
which
that's
is
the
very
thing.
annoying.
But the thing is like sometimes the thing with me is that so I have SiriusXM, right? So I feel like I need to be listening to SiriusXM to get my money's worth. But every once in a while, I'll throw on like 93.3 or Pro FM or something. If you don't live in Rhode Island, you don't know what
That
these
means
are.
nothing.
These mean nothing to you. These are just
Especially Pro
words.
FM. I also love that Pro FM. You didn't even say the number on that one.
Yeah, because I never can remember.
93.3 is one thing. Pro FM is a different
Because
thing.
here's the thing, I never remember. I always second guess myself anytime I start to say the call numbers for Pro FM. Because
Well, the problem
it's
is because it's
92.3. Yeah.
So there's
92.3.
93.3, there's 92.3. They're really much the same channel.
But the thing is that I always want to say the high school radio station call numbers instead of the actual Pro FM call numbers. So I'm like, but then nobody knows what the WCVY except for people from Coventry High School. Like nobody.
I don't remember what Anchor Radio's number was when you were on campus. I don't think it reached.
To it.
All I knew about it was that it reached farther off campus than it should have because they were definitely using a tower they weren't supposed to be using.
Yeah.
It was
You've mentioned
7
that.
years ago. I don't think anyone could get in trouble now. I'm sure they fixed it.
Yeah.
The people running
Maybe.
it then are not there anymore, which makes me think that somebody fixed it to make it more legit.
But yeah, I always feel like I need to listen to SiriusXM, but now I have Spotify Premium, so I'm like, I don't know what to do. I can choose between Billy Joel channel, pretty much, or listen to
or
his
just
crazy,
all of Billy Joel.
or
You
just all of
Billy Joel.
and sprinkle in some other stuff from my Spotify list. But yeah, where did this even start? I
don't know. This is the nature of this show. I've been thinking about this because it's been a while since we've really talked about what this show is about, especially since I've moved back and we've met in real life now. So I think it's like the premise got a little, the premise got a little wonky because it used to be we're building a friendship having not met each other, and we're using the podcast as an excuse to talk every week. And now it's just we're just continuing that friendship, and guess what? It's just an excuse to talk every week.
Exactly.
Because we work all the time. So spoiler alert, we haven't seen each other in human space since CJ was here. CJ was here. We got drinks, and before that, it was the concert that we podcasted about.
Yep.
So we're just busy. When you get to be older, it gets harder and harder to make the time to see your friends and stuff because you're working all the time. I see my friends on a regular basis because of D&D, and that's it. I haven't seen my friends outside of D&D except once or twice in the last 3 months.
Yeah. Well, it's
so this is just
I have my
a good
Monday
reason.
hangout days.
Yeah. See, you have to make a weekly thing, or else nobody has time to schedule it. Unless you make it part of the schedule, nobody has time to actually sit down and do it. So that's your life lesson, kids. If you want to have friends when you're older, you schedule them just like work.
Oh man, you can try to be spontaneous, but sometimes
the problem with spontaneous is that most of the time someone goes, "Oh, I actually don't have time for that right now."
Yeah. Oh man. But anyways, yeah.
There, I've reinvented our show. There, we're done. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, no. So 2 weeks since we last talked. Where to start? So I've seen movies, but I'm not really. I've seen enough movies, but too much movies to really get into them.
Anything that hugely blows your mind that you need to talk about?
The biggest one that I think everybody needs to see is 21 Bridges. It was.
Oh, did you actually see that? You actually enjoyed it?
Yeah. Actually, what?
Sorry. I assumed when it got shuffled into the worst weekend for anything to open, which is against another Disney movie, which I'm pretty certain Disney has stake in 21 Bridges. Anyway, I just assumed that maybe it wasn't as good as they hoped it was.
No, it's incredible. Everybody should go see it. I don't want to give too much away. It was incredible. Truly incredible. So, that's all I really... until, you see it, or until, the spoiler break happens, whatever. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into it, because it's a movie that, if I almost 100% spoiled it for, a groom of people, because I almost said one sentence that would have been...
funny.
It would have ruined the entire movie. It would have been...
funny, because...
No, it wouldn't have been worth it for them to watch it.
Which is not something I think I would have expected anyone to say about 21 Bridges. I saw that trailer, and not even that the trailer gave away a lot, which I'm sure it did. I really wasn't
Yeah. I mean, it does,
not
but
not
not
processing
really.
it. I was processing what I was seeing in front of me, but my brain immediately was like, I'm gonna forget half of this because I'm not really that into this movie.
Mm,
So like most of that went out of my brain. So, but I remember watching that trailer and thinking, oh, okay, I know exactly what this movie is.
yeah.
Like I don't think I'm gonna be go and be like hyper surprised. I think I felt the same way about Black and Blue though, and I think
Hmm.
that's just because like like crime movies these days, especially like studio ones, are all pretty boilerplate. So like hearing that, oh no, there are things worth like keeping from the audience because it changes the way you view the movie kind
Yeah.
of thing exists in this movie. It's like, oh, okay, that actually makes me think that this movie is worth watching
Yeah.
then.
No, it definitely is. Definitely. Um,
And I say this as someone who every time there's like a horror movie that comes out, I know exactly what's going to happen to that horror movie and I go watch it. So
exactly.
who am I to
I
judge
mean, the
cop
thing is,
movies because they're predictable?
yeah.
Who am
The thing
I?
is, it's an argument that Devin and I have a lot, where it's like we've seen too many movies, or we like. I'll watch a movie and be like, well, I wasn't surprised because I've seen a movie before. Like, I've seen any movie before. But I don't get upset when things are predictable too much, unless your predictability is taking me out of the movie. You know what I
and
mean?
and
Like,
I have heard I listen to a lot of bad movie podcasts because that's what I do. And the best way that I've ever heard that sort of thing framed is there's a difference between a movie being predictable and a movie assuming that you've seen other movies, which happens a lot. So like the bad writing version of that is there are things that just don't get explained or that are only explained by the fact that you've seen other movies so you know how this works,
yeah,
and that's different than someone actually put the effort, even though it was predictable or a little cliche. Someone
yeah,
still put the effort to put in the things in the movie so that if someone who doesn't watch a bunch of movies watches it and knows what's going on. The problem with the other side of that, where someone writes a movie assuming you've seen other movies so you know how this works, that means that someone who doesn't watch a lot of movies will watch that and be completely lost
yeah.
because they don't have the structure to understand what the hell's going on.
Yeah. My philosophy has always been, if you entertain me enough, I don't care if you're a bad movie. I don't care if you're a good movie. I just care that you took me out of real life for a few hours. Like, you just made me forget about stuff for a few hours and let me live in your world. That's kind of how I view movies in a lot of way. And that's a whole other thing why, like, I don't love critics that much, because they're looking at it from one dimension. Whereas movies really shouldn't, just like any art, cannot be looked at from one dimension unless otherwise explicitly said. But generally, you can't look at art from one dimension, and yeah. So, anyways,
I
that's
really
what
wanted you to say you can't look at art from one direction because I was going to make
I
some joke about
almost
One
did.
Direction not being art, but I didn't
I
have anything good to back it up.
That's rude. Come on, that's pretty
That's
good.
why. That's why.
That's pretty good. No, but yeah, that's a whole other conversation for a whole other time. But yeah, definitely go see 21 Bridges. The other thing I did 2 weeks
If anything,
ago.
Chadwick Boseman deserves to get for people to go see a movie in which he's not playing a character adapted from a comic or the life of another human being.
Yeah,
Because
that's
he's
true too.
because he was James Brown, right? He was in the James Brown movie, I think,
I don't
and
know.
he's in
He's in 42, so he plays
Jackie Robinson,
Jackie Robinson. Yep.
right? And he's in
That's
I think the James Brown movie, and he did the one a couple of years ago that was the first like black or justice, I think, and I cannot remember that name, which makes me terrible at history. And also the whitest man ever. I apologize. But then and then he was Black Panther. Like his huge roles are all adaptive roles.
He was also a god in Gods of Egypt.
But we don't have to talk about Gods of Egypt.
No, we do. Gods of Egypt is an incredible movie. It's great. I love it. I love every second of it, especially Chadwick Boseman.
Where a lot of white British dudes play Egyptian people. Anyway.
Yeah, I know. It's a terrible movie in that sense. It's a terrible, like, diverse.
It's a very old school movie.
It's a
in that
very
way.
old school movie, and it's bad with its diversity. And I will say that. Still, that movie's so stupid that it's fun.
There you go.
Um,
So yes. I mean, go watch 21 Bridges if only to give Chadwick Boseman the chance to do other original roles.
I
Okay.
just love Chadwick Boseman and
I do
anything
too.
that
He's a
he
great
does.
actor. There's nothing wrong with the way that's worked out.
Oh,
It's just it's
Marshall.
very
Was it
clear.
Marshall?
Yes,
Marshall.
Marshall.
Yep. That
Uh,
movie's incredible. Have you seen that?
no, but
Oh,
I've saw the ad a bunch of times and it looked good.
it's
Um,
incredible.
but I mean
Um,
that's just a whole other conversation about like black actors in general who only ever really seem to get a break when they're doing, you know, a Black History film because Hollywood sucks. So like yes, more original roles for Chadwick Boseman, please. Um, I saw Knives Out.
oh, did you? Hold on,
I
hold on.
did.
Before we get to Knives Out, because I have not seen it yet.
Well, I'm not gonna go. Yeah, see,
All
because you
right.
haven't seen it, I'm not gonna go very deep into it.
Was it good?
But oh, it was excellent.
Good.
It was excellent. It's a very different movie than you think going in. It's we're gonna talk about this when I get it deep into my Star Wars conversation later. But I've
God.
become acutely aware of the three-act structure of film recently. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just that like movies are being more blatant with their like turn from act one to two to three, or if it's just that I'm seeing more movies than usual. But like that movie changes after act one in a way that I was not expecting.
Yeah.
So like I spent most of act two having to readjust to that, which was still good, but it was like a weird dip in the middle of that movie just because my brain was like, wait, this is a different movie than I thought it was. It won me back in act three is excellent, but I was like, oh my God, hold on. Hold on.
Um.
Stop for a second.
Yeah. I as soon as I really learned about the three-act structure, I anytime I watched a movie, I had to forget about it. So I could just enjoy the movie. The only time I really pay attention to acts or beats or anything is if your movie is not entertaining me.
Right, and that's
So I'm
the thing is that I
basically
think
like, all right, when is the rock bottom part? When is the time that we're gonna be almost over with this shit? Like,
right, and it's just the fact that like it's very clear, like it's a clarity thing. And here's the thing: a three-act structure like that, like a play structure like that, can work for some movies, and I think it actually does work for Knives Out, which is a film that takes place largely in the same location, and like, you're like, oh, hey, like a play, that actually almost works that way. So it's not a bad thing. It's just a thing that like sometimes you're like it changes your expectation, especially from the marketing of that movie, to be like, oh, actually, this is kind of a different movie. Hold on.
yeah,
You have to like that's the other problem is marketing is just bad on some things. So like you don't want to give too much away, but also you can't not give some stuff away because then you give different expectations for what a movie is, and then a perfectly good movie gets slammed because people don't get what they're expecting out of it. It's a
hmm
whole other problem.
yeah.
But anyway,
So yeah, so what I wanted to talk about really was I rewatched Ready Player One 2 weeks ago.
yeah, Devin mentioned that on Say Report, and then we didn't record. Did it come off any better?
No, it came off way worse.
I thought this was gonna be the weird Ready Player One redemption story.
No,
Oh man,
absolutely not.
I'm so
Absolutely not.
sorry.
Yeah, no. So a friend of mine had never seen it, but she read the book. So she and I would always like kind of shit on it. So
Okay, this was not someone who like really loved the book and was going into this. This was someone who already was like down on the story.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So she and I were out to dinner or whatever talking about it, and I'm like, we should really watch Ready Player One together because I think it would be fun. And she agreed. So we found it. The thing that's first of all sucked was I figured Ready Player One might be in the $5 bin already at Walmart. Not the case. Not the case
Not
at
with
all.
not with all the licensing in that movie. They'd never make their money back.
Well, like Pixels was in the $5 bin at one point. That has a bunch of licensing in it. It's all Namco and Nintendo.
That has a bunch of 1984 licensing to it, even though everything in that movie should be from before 1982, and that's the biggest problem in that movie. So
Jesus. But still,
never gonna let
like,
Pixels get away with that.
But can't you argue that Ready Player One is all the '80s shit?
But also all the 90s shit. No, it's also all the 80s shit people care about. Like, I'm sorry, people care about video games, but people do not care. There are a lot of people that care about 1980s video games, clearly. But because of the nature of the video game world, in the video game industry, it's not like you still have to pay $40 for a Pac-Man game unless it's
Yeah.
like a brand new version of it. So like you can get a Pac-Man license cheap.
Yeah.
You can get Donkey Kong
Fair
license
enough.
cheap if you're doing the original Donkey Kong game and not any Donkey Kong from now. So like there's those are cheap because the video game industry is bad. But out of all the video games that show up in then movies and TV that shows up in Ready Player One is specifically designed to be like, we pick stuff we know people like so that they think they like this movie. So
Oh, it's so terrible. But yeah, so that the mission to try and find the movie was difficult because it wasn't, you couldn't rent it on Prime, you couldn't rent it on YouTube. The whole movie is on YouTube for free though, apparently. But
like ripped for free.
I don't know. We ended up doing a free trial of Cinemax, I believe, and watched it that way. Because I was kind of nervous about the YouTube one because I was like scrubbing through and I didn't remember the movie as much as I thought I did. So I'm like, that doesn't look right. How this is being cut together, like it just
It's
didn't
also
seem right.
that sounds like the sort of thing where multiple parts had existed. Someone spliced
Yeah.
it together and then maybe flipped the screen
Yeah.
so that
So
the
I just
YouTube algorithm didn't notice.
I just
Yeah.
didn't want to mess with that. So yeah, we ended up doing a free trial, but like trying to find the movie was ridiculous. But
So already starting off great.
yes. So we start the movie and like instantly I am reminded of how much I do not like this movie because it starts off with I don't even remember what song it is, but it's like the super 80s music, like wicked in your face 80s, and I'm like, I look at my friend, I'm like, I need you to understand, I'm already done. She was like, I'm in the same boat. So I'm like, cool, we can only go up from here, right? No, that is not the case.
Never discount the fact that a lateral move from crappy to crappy to crappy is not any better.
Oh my god, so bad. So the movie starts and like it gives you, and my friend freaking timed it, and 9 minutes of exposition.
Well, it's based on a book, Dale.
I
Books
know!
have words. You're
I
gonna
know,
put words
Zack!
in the movie if there's words in the book.
I know, Zach, but 9
How am I
minutes.
supposed to ever world build without words?
But 9 minutes. 9 minutes. Legit 9.
A Gregorian sixth of an hour.
Awful. So we're watching it, and she's like, I can't believe they're still explaining stuff. And I'm like, I can't either. I've seen the movie. And so it finally gets to the first key or whatever, and they're setting up for the race, and she's like, is the key not on the school planet? And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. What school planet?
Because she read the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're watching, and I'm like, what school planet? She goes, and she explains to me that the first key is on the school planet because the guy who created the Oasis wanted, because school is free for anybody who can't go to school, so school is free in the Oasis, which, like, logistically terrible idea.
Well, that starts into the whole economics of this whole thing, where for a movie that starts off with 90 minutes of exposition, they do not explain why this video game is the economic powerhouse of the universe, and yet it is.
Yeah.
So sorts of problems.
The thing is that, like, I'm thinking of that, and I'm like, all right. First of all, they give what's his name? Will? Not Will. His name is Percival.
Player one. They give player one.
They give the dude, it's WW because he wanted an alliterative name because his dad wanted to give him an alliterative name like Peter Parker.
And also because Will Wheaton exists in the universe and also read the fucking audiobook. But anyway.
Anyways, so they give the dude like a free rig because he can't go to school. But so here's me thinking of that, right? I hear that and I'm like, all right. if you're giving me a free thing that lets me go into a virtual world where I can play video games all day, I'm not going to school. you you're not getting me into a school unless you put locks or some shit on it. I'm not going to school. That's not going to happen. And also, kids are just or parents, I could totally see fraud ridding like being the worst thing in this world. I already can see that. But like everybody's like, my kid, we can't afford school. Give my kid a free rig. Or a kid who like an orphaned kid being like, I can't go to school. Give me a free rig. Well, I mean, that's actually cause to get a free rig. Probably. I don't know. This world is ridiculous. The world of Ready Player One is ridiculous.
That's the problem of like there like in like more socialist societies, you would do something like that because everybody's taxes are paying into it. But the incentive to that is that people need to work so that their taxes pay into that, and also then it's good for everybody. There's not like a system of, well, if you can't afford it, you can do this, but if you can't afford it, you can't. It's like, no, you just do it for everybody. The affordability thing should not be a factor because that creates this issue.
Yeah. But so the thing was is that he put the key on the school planet so everybody could have equal opportunity to get to the key. It didn't matter of like skill or anything, I guess. Like it didn't matter if you had a good car for the race or whatever. It just like everybody had equal access. But like that's also kind of not a great setup because you have people going to school. I don't know. This is just me looking at it. Like, you have people going to school. If they're in school, they don't have the same access as somebody who, like, can just take a day off work and search around the school planets.
Yes,
like,
Dayle,
it's
you're
not,
absolutely correct.
It's
that is
not
in fact
equal.
That is, in fact, the problem with that.
It's not equal in any sense. So it's still not good. But I'm like, it's at least better than the stupid race where you need to cheat pretty much to win by going backwards.
I was going to say, you need to at least not play the game you're playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But, so we're watching it, and so she explains that to me, and I'm like, oh my god, this is already, like, worse than, like, the book. Now I need to read the book, because that's more interesting to me than what is being presented to me in the movie.
Oh, Dayle, don't worry. It's still as poorly structued as the movie, just in a different way.
I'm sure it is. But it's just, I'm kind of happy that she also didn't like it. Just because, like, it makes me feel not crazy.
It's a confirmation that you're not losing your mind when you watch this. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, we're just watching it, and I'm like, oh, there's so many, and we've already talked about this, and I'm explaining this stuff to Devin, and Devin's like, you've already told me this, Dayle. You didn't rediscover these things. You just remembered them. And I'm like, they're just so bad, Devin. They're just so bad. But the whole, like, you have a team of people who know these games, and you can't figure out these simple things that are going on in the I can't. It makes me so upset. It's such a terrible movie. But yeah, so that's how I spent 2 Fridays ago.
And it still irks you this badly.
Oh my god. It's just I haven't been able to talk about it on the podcast yet.
Haven't been able to get it out of your system.
Oh yeah, but yeah, no, it was bad. But Thanksgiving was good. Thanksgiving was great.
Oh yeah, Thanksgiving happened. My Thanksgiving was working from 4 a.m. to 3 in the afternoon and then sleeping. So like that's all of my Thanksgiving was when Siegen visited and we actually had family over and did stuff.
Yeah,
like that's like.
Oh man, I played Japanese rhythm games too this past weekend.
Cool.
Which were awesome. Like,
couldn't you tell what you're doing well, or like?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. So it's one of those games where it's half Japanese, half English.
One of those games.
Yeah. So like the combos, it'll be like, oh, combo, oh, good, perfect, failed, blah blah blah. Like those kind of words are in English, but like most of the tutorials are in Japanese. So I'm like, I'll press here when I need to. I'll press here. But you remember that place round 1 that we went to?
Yes.
When like you first got here.
Yes, I do.
It was like our first hangout time. So at that place, they have these. They're like new rhythm games, and they're straight from Japan, and they are the most fun arcade rhythm games I've ever played. One of them was called, I think Musica, and you had like five buttons, kind of things, right? Kind of the size of the bongo, the heads of the bongos for Donkey Konga.
Okay.
So you have those buttons, right? And you have to hit them when, they're on the screen, obviously, like any rhythm game. But they also spin, so they can spin in a 360. And so there will be times where there'll be like a little twister image on the screen, and you have to spin the button, spin the bongo
Jesus.
head in time with it. And then there are other times where it's a longer spin, so you like are hitting away, and then you have to spin, and then you have to hit some more things, and the twister will go down the screen and come back, and you have to spin it again on time. It was so much fun. It was the most fun I've ever had.
It's like playing with five separate boppets at the
It
same
was,
time.
yeah, I mean, pretty
Bop it,
much.
spin it, pull it, spin it, bop it, spin it, bop it, spin
Yeah.
it, pull it, but
Pretty much. It's pretty much exactly what it was. So much fun. Like, so good. That's it.
cool.
Really, and Pokemon. I've been playing Pokemon. I've almost beaten it. I'm so close.
The only thing, okay, my only
I'm gonna
question
beat it
is-
today. I'm
'cause
going to beat it today.
It's funny. So I'm still pretty much where I was the last time we played because I got distracted by so many things this last couple of weeks, and I am a slow Pokemon player, mostly so that I can draw it out.
Yeah.
But I'm up through the third gym now,
Okay.
and like what hasn't happened yet is they haven't given me the every Pokemon game is basically a lead up to an apocalypse before you stop it. Is the story of this game also apocalyptic in any way?
Do you want me to tell you?
I just want to know if it does. Like, I don't need details. I just want to know
pretty
if
much.
it gets okay.
Yeah.
Because I got like a little bit of a hint of that, but all I could think is like I think about the team. Team Yell in this is just a bunch of fanboys for a character who seems perfectly pleasant. Like you
Oh,
run into her
yeah.
a couple of times, and she's like the nicest person in the world, but all of her fans are just like so down, like so trying too hard to like protect her for some reason that they're
There-
kind of shitty about it.
There are some times where it like teeters, where I'm like, oh, Marnie, am I reading you wrong?
Right.
But no, I love the character of Marnie.
It's what's his name in the jacket.
much.
That's actually like the little shit.
Oh, Beady? That's what I
Yes.
call him. I call him Beady.
Maybe you're a beat or
It's
bede
like-
or
It's nobody know. I've been calling him Beady because
Yeah.
I think it's I was calling him Bede because that's a ridiculous name, but Beady is what I've settled on.
Yeah. So like I've run into him a couple of times, and he's the closest I've come to like a Team Rocket-esque like
Yeah.
shady character
Yeah.
in the whole thing so far. So that's all I wanted to know. I'll
hold
keep
on.
going, but I was just curious.
Third gym is
The fire gym.
the fire gym. Okay.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So I got through the fire gym, and now I have to go through the wild area to get to the next town, and I just keep getting
So
held up.
yeah,
like
what if
other
you?
Pokemon.
What do? You just like hang out in the wild area?
Wild area
leveling up
routes.
Pokemon.
Yeah, wild area routes. I do a bunch of things, this and that. I listen to podcasts. I watch some shows on my phone while I do it. It's nice.
Do
It's
you?
relaxing.
Are you trying to like just fill up your Pokedex before you?
No. I'm not catching everything. What I'm literally doing is like I take my Pokemon. So I've cut it down to just the Gen 8 Pokemon so I can keep my brain from exploding.
Uh-huh.
Because I've got 80 Pokemon now.
Uh-huh.
So my new rule, which I've changed many times already, is that I'm only using Gen 8 Pokemon to actually play the game right now, and then I'll go and like fill the Pokedex later. But what I
That's
do,
what I was doing.
I still have, a dozen or so of those. So almost 30, I think, at this point. So that's more than a team of 6. So I take a team of 6 out and I level them up to whatever number I've decided. I think I'm at because I can catch up to 30, and then no, I can, and then up to
listen to
50 up to 50 will obey me, but I can catch up to 30. Like that's their whole thing with the wild areas, that you can run into Pokemon so strong that they're just not going to let you catch them.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at with those 3 badges. So like I'm like, okay, well I'll just get everybody up to level like 26, 27, and then I'll go forward because I don't know what the gym is yet, let alone what the levels are going to be. So
But
I'll sit there and take a team of 6, fight keep fighting for experience until everyone's up to that level, and then I'll swap them out for another 6 and do it again, and then swap them out for another 6 and do it again. And as you catch more Pokemon, that becomes a much more tedious process. So,
Huh. That's
yeah,
very interesting. You do know, okay.
that most of them are not going to
No.
ever be used because at
No,
some
no, no.
point they're going to be weak to every Pokemon I come against.
No, 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 no. Not
Oh,
even that. Um, you've done max raids, right?
yes, you get the Yes, you get the levels. That's fine, and I do that
But
every now
yeah,
and
you
then.
get the experience share. You get
But
the experience candies.
right, but you only get a handful of them, and you don't get experience for that battle itself. So
I have
that's 20
so
minutes to
many.
get to get 4 candies.
So many candies.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's less like feels like playing the game. I mean, and you're sort of playing the game, but again,
It's
that could be
part of the
so.
game. It's a game. It's a viable
I know.
strategy.
No, it's a perfectly viable strategy. I'm not saying it's wrong to do that. It's just that for me, that feels like even. I don't know. That feels less like I'm playing the game that way to me than just. I don't know why. I don't know why. Like pumping. Like
But
I've never been a player that pumps candy into my characters.
but leveling
So it
up
feels
Pokemon
weird
that
to.
you'll never use
Uh-huh.
is more playing the game
Uh-huh.
than just than just using candy.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I get it. I
Because I'm
guess.
using them in those fights. Because I'll never use them in a gym battle, but I'll use them in those fights for a little bit. So
But
they still
like
get
it's
used and played with at the camp.
but it's almost like false hope for these Pokemon.
Hi, they're still getting used. They're still getting exercise. They're still doing things. They're just not being
Yeah,
used in the main
but
battles.
but like, oh, I don't know. I give too much. I anthropomorphize Pokemon too much. Uh, to be like, all right, you guys are staying in the box.
I mean, I still use the
I
candy
will
when I use
hang
them.
out
Like
with you
I've
after I
started
win.
using. Yeah, I've started using the candy for like the lower level stuff every
Yeah.
now and then, but I don't like. I'm not like going out and just doing for an hour and a half a bunch of raids and then coming back with a bunch of candy, which
Yeah.
is the way I should do it because that cuts out so much time. But, what can I say? I'm the world's I'm a dumb Pokemon trainer. That's why I've only been the champion once the entire time I've played Pokemon in my
It's
entire life.
okay. It's all right. I mean, it's fine. It's how you play it. I just don't get it. But that's fine. I'm not supposed to get it. I'm trying, like,
Yeah, you're trying to process it. I can hear it. I
Yeah.
can hear your brain trying to process how this game works for
I
me.
mean, I guess it's you. Like you said, you're trying to draw it out a little bit more. You're trying to keep your Pokemon at the same level and play with them at the camp and all that. So that part I totally get. But like that's all end game for me. And it's mainly because I'm a person where if I walk away from a story, it's why I don't love open world games, like Fallout or something. If I'm a person who walks away from the main story for too long, I would be like, wait, what's going on?
What's
Wait,
the nice
hold
thing
on.
about That's the nice thing about Pokemon. The main story is you're just going to the next town to fight the gym.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not much else you need to remember.
Well, if you haven't learned about the like as you say the apocalyptic stuff, shit goes down in Pokemon. It's
Oh, yeah.
crazy. This game is so good.
Every game is someone else running a evil team of people has decided they're going to awaken some sort of legendary Pokemon that will bring about the apocalypse. Every game is like that.
Oh man. I mean, you're not wrong. It's a predictable game.
Even X and Y. Even X and Y is like, oh yeah, I've decided that people suck, so I'm gonna awaken this legendary Pokemon to wipe all the people off the planet. Bye.
Yep. Well, X and Y is also X and Y is also where it explains the two game structure.
Does it? I don't think I ever noticed that.
Yeah.
That they're just in a multiverse? They're in a multiverse, right?
Kind of. So it's like a giant comet. There was this like giant, and he loved this Pokemon so much, and then I
Little
think the
flower.
Yep, and
one,
then I
right?
think
Yeah.
and then I think the Pokemon died, and he got all upset, and then a comet came, and it split the world in two, and that's why we have two Pokemon games.
God, that sounds like someone after like 20 years is just frustrated with people asking why they have to buy two games. It's like, I don't know. I mean, the real answer is money, but if you need a stupid in-universe answer, fine. The world is split in two. The answer. Done. Stop asking.
Yeah.
That's like I learned, this is very dumb, but this could be our transition into Star
Star
Wars.
Wars.
Um, I read that the Last Jedi novelization used the connection between Rey and Kylo to explain in Force Awakens when she uses the Jedi mind trick on the guy when she's in the torture chair and she uses it and it works and a bunch of idiots decided that that was a problem, that she tried a Jedi mind trick and it worked because how dare she use a Jedi mind trick without years of training first. And apparently the writer of the Last Jedi novelization found that to be so dumb because it was that they were just like, their connection means that she was able to use a bunch of like as soon as the Force was awakened in her,
Ha.
she was able to use a bunch of Force stuff like really powerfully because she was basically like background downloading Kylo Ren information into her brain. Like, there, is that a good enough explanation for you people?
Ridiculous. My God.
But yeah, so Attack of the Clones is still a bad movie, and we need to talk about it.
Is Attack of the Clones?
Episode 2.
Nope,
That's
that's not gonna help me.
Anakin, and that's the first time Hayden Christensen shows up, and is a little shit until Natalie Portman decides that I guess he deserves a girlfriend.
Hey.
So let's
Hey.
rewind for a second. I've been playing Jedi Fallen Order, and that game is so good that it reignited my love for Star Wars again. In the same way that, like, every time a new Star Wars movie comes out, I'm reminded, oh yeah, I like this franchise.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to forget that over months of them not being out. But Jedi Fallen Order is such a good game. It's such a good game. Cal Kestis is maybe one of my favorite protagonists in a Star Wars story because he's not like, it would be so easy, especially in the video game world, to be like, here's an angry guy who's just jaded by war and rah, rah, rah. And
Yeah.
instead, it's just like, no, he's just a nice dude.
Yeah. Trying
was a
to
Jedi.
live his life.
Yeah, he was a Jedi, couldn't be a Jedi anymore. He went into hiding, and he still has hope for the future, so he joins up in this mission.
Yeah.
It's like, cool. He's a perfectly decent dude then.
Yeah.
Nice. And that story goes places, but I know Dayle hasn't gotten very far, so we won't spoil it.
I've literally only beaten the tutorial planet.
Yeah. So when you say beating the tutorial planet, did you get to like?
I got to the vault, talked to the hologram,
Okay.
and that's it.
Oh, okay. So you
But
you did the tutorial junkyard and then the first planet,
Yes.
basically. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So that means I can explain this. It's a Kingdom Hearts game, in that. I had this thought while I was playing the game the other day. I was like, this is just
remember. I just remember that you have to get to the 3 shrines or whatever, but
Yeah.
I don't really remember anything else. 'Cause
So,
I haven't
but the
played it
reason-
'cause I've been playing Pokemon. See, if I walk away from a game too long, I forget everything.
It's okay. I mean, that's just it. That game. I mean, what you have is the explanation you get
Yeah.
by the end of that first planet. Is
Yeah,
okay. There's
exactly.
some stuff you have to go do
Yeah.
because there's inside the vault is something that's important. I don't remember if they tell you yet, so I won't say.
Yeah.
But there's something in the vault that's important, and the only way to open the vault is to go to a bunch of places and get all the stuff to open the vault.
Mhm.
But like that, the way to open Kingdom Hearts is to go to the different planets
Jesus.
and help the different people.
Oh my God.
in your gummy ship, and you go to different planets, and also you're kind of owned by Disney a little bit, and you go and you use magic and you use fighting to help people, and some of these characters are characters and so there, it's a Kingdom Hearts game.
Why, Zach?
uh
Why? Can we agree that BD1 is the best droid in
Oh,
the
he's a
whole goddamn
great droid.
world?
it's a great droid.
Ugh. I love BD1 so much. So, he's like a little puppy. It's like
And
a
like a-
puppy droid.
And of course, like all it did was like, oh, if we give them legs, droids can be useful. If we give them legs but don't make them C-3PO, they can be
Aw.
useful.
Oh, God. So why is Clone Wars a bad movie that I don't
Clone
remember?
Wars is a great movie. Here's the problem.
Wait.
Clone Wars is good. Attack of the Clones is bad.
Oh, wait. Hold
So
on.
while I've been playing through Jedi,
Movies.
I know you were confused by the timeline of where Jedi was. I mean, it basically tells you right in the game, but I don't. Can I just explain where that is so we can make this make a little more sense, or you like really want to figure it out for yourself?
I mean, little column A, little column B. Like
or is part of it that you're just confused because you don't know Star Wars well enough that you just don't know where it
here's the thing. It's that I don't care enough about,
is?
about Star Wars. Is that okay? I still
That's
like
fair.
Star Wars.
No,
I
that's
just
fair.
don't care enough about the movie story at all. I don't know. I've talked about this so much that it's like I said, I don't really remember what happens in the first 6 episodes. My Star Wars is this current trilogy.
That's fair.
That is, and by saying that, I really only care about Rey, Kylo, and Rose. Those are like the 3 characters, and BB-8. Those are really the only characters I care about. I care about Finn in Force Awakens, but I don't like Finn in
Yeah,
Last Jedi.
I like Ryan Johnson. Dropped the ball on Finn. He just did.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna. I'm there. It is what it is.
Loved Poe Dameron in Force Awakens. Hate him in Last Jedi.
I think you're not. I mean, that's supposed to be a rough patch for him.
He's
But
just so annoying and just like a dick. I'm like, even being Oscar Isaacs, you're not saving yourself. And I love Oscar Isaacs, but like, I don't know. It's just the reason, and Last Jedi was not a good movie for me. It really wasn't. The best part of that movie was the introduction of Rose, and then everybody hates on Rose, and I'm like, I don't understand. Am I watching these movies differently than
here's
people?
the thing.
Like,
Your shitty people on the internet hate on Rose,
yes.
and those are the loudest voices. You should know that Rose is one of the most loved characters in this franchise right now.
Yeah, I know. I hope so. Yeah,
So,
I'd like to hope so.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, I don't know. Last Jedi was a really not a great movie for me because I fell asleep during it. And did I fall asleep? I definitely fell asleep during Rogue One. I might have fallen asleep during Last Jedi. And if a movie puts me to sleep, you know it's not good. Yeah. What was I saying? I only care about Kylo.
So
and Cal Kestis.
So Jedi takes place in the middle of the original 6.
Yeah, you've
movie.
Already explained that because
takes place in between those because of Order 66, which is the order from the Emperor where the clones basically turned into stormtroopers and then had to kill the Jedi.
Yep.
Like that's why he is living and hiding.
Do not remember that. Continue.
Yeah. So playing that, so that is a time. Here's the thing: Solo and Rogue One both take place in the same period because Rogue One is the lead up to New Hope, and Solo. More than anything, Solo is probably happening alongside of this thing when you think about the timeline of that movie. Just don't think about it too hard because God knows they probably didn't. But but like no, that's good. They should not be so locked into freaking years when they do these things. But so it's a time that like my brain is just like I don't need another story between these two sets of trilogies. I just don't. And then I started playing this game and I was like, oh, actually, when it's a good story, it seems like I don't care actually.
Yeah.
But that got me interested in just like rewatching basically all of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Before Rise of Skywalker comes out, and I was like, well, there's shows I have not watched. I've never watched the Clone Wars TV show, the Rebels TV show. I think the Resistance is going on right now. I've never watched any of those. So I was like, what if I'm watching Mandalorian now.
Yeah.
The thing with Mandalorian is because of when that takes place, I don't even think about that one either.
Yeah.
That's also another story that's taking place outside of largely this saga, so I wasn't really thinking about it. But I was just like, what if I tried a dumb thing? Because Zack does the dumb thing sometimes. It's like, what if I tried to watch all of these, but in chronological, like in-universe chronological order, not the order in which they were released, but the actual in-universe chronological order of these things. So like episode 1 and 2, then all of the Clone Wars stuff, then episode 3, then Solo and Rogue One, then episode 4, 5, and 6. I can't remember if there's something that happens in between those. Rebels is in there somewhere in 4, 5, and 6. And then the new trilogy. So like, which includes the Resistance stuff. So it's like, can I do that? I bet I could do that. Let me try and do that. So I
Jesus.
sat down and watched episode 1 and 2 for the first time in a long time. And oh my God, Dale, they did not age. They did
I
not. I thought for like I really, really wanted to watch them again and be like, okay, these are better than I thought they were. And there's little bits and pieces here that I was like, okay, yeah, I forgot this and this is good and this is good, but I could definitely like because of like I I watched them and I was like, oh, with years of like movie watching experience now that I didn't have watching these before, I can see the giant glaring problems with these now that just are so obvious to me that I can't not look away. First off, Disney Plus, and this is maybe or maybe not Disney's fault. I don't know how the deal went down with what they bought from Lucasfilm. This is definitely George Lucas's fault. I blame him for this. The CGI HD remaster bullshit in these looks so bad. Like I thought it would be off-putting. It looks bad. Every single alien, even if they were a puppet in the original, has had like an HD thing or like CGI thing put over it. And so it's just like here's a CGI recreation of this puppet, but like with mid 2000s or early 2010s like cutscene video game CGI levels of CGI over them. That includes Jar Jar Binks is just a CGI character walking around, like not even like a like half practical, half like no, it just looks like they superimposed CGI Jar Jar Binks into this movie, and Watto looks bad. Everybody looks bad, so bad.
I don't I don't know. I haven't rewatched them. I
And,
just
and
remember really liking them.
I kind of did when I was a kid, but like
Well, I
then I'm like,
rewatched them before Force Awakens came out, I think. And I was like, these are good movies. I really enjoy them.
I
And
couldn't like
CGI never bugs me.
I don't know. Well, that's the thing is I think it's because it's like hyper HD now. Because even when they would have come out before, like DVD standard definition,
Mm.
or even like slightly high definition DVD, probably would look a lot better. But it's at a point now where like everything is so crisp and clean that it is
Well,
so freaking obvious.
okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
Because Supergirl, right?
Uh-huh.
Supergirl has some, I guess you would say, bad CGI. It doesn't bother me.
It's for some reason TV does not bother me. TV CGI does not bother me because
is
my
it-
brain is locked into a thing of like they only have so much money for a budget.
Yeah, but is it that level of CGI? Because, like,
No,
that's all I can picture when you
kind
say
of.
it's bad CGI.
Like kind
'Cause
of.
it's
I
like-
think what it is that like
Because John Jones does not look good when he's the Martian. When he's, like, in his full green Martian.
yeah.
He
And
just does not look good.
Which is funny because I look at that and I go, wow, that looks pretty good for a CW TV budget, actually.
Yeah, but
But
you know, if
Yeah.
you were to talk about traditional CGI, so again, I don't care about that shit. I just
Yeah.
like
well, no,
'cause-
it's just the fact that like it's hard for me to watch it and like get sucked into it because my
Yeah.
brain is spending so much
paying
time looking
attention
at this
to
thing.
it.
If the whole thing were CGI, they would
Yeah.
look fine.
Yeah.
The problem is that it looks like a thing from a CGI film was cut and pasted into this
Into the
live
movie.
action environment. And like not even in like Roger Rabbit works for me and this doesn't. And I don't know what the disconnect is there. So that's bad. But then I'm watching episode 1 and the story like the actual story of that original trilogy is supposed to be that like the rise of the Empire, basically, which then also culminates in alongside the fall of Anakin Skywalker to become Darth Vader. So by the end of it, the Empire is huge and Darth Vader exists. Cool, but like because they already start with the premise of where this is gonna end, they don't do any real. I don't feel like they don't do any of the work, and maybe this is because George Lucas is not like the strongest writer. Because he had other writers and directors working with him, and then not in the in the prequel trilogy. But like, the first episode 1 is structured as like it opens up and you learn about this like weird trade war that's being like really the whole thing is just a front for the Empire to build its strength. Cool. In the end of that movie, there's a big battle about it. Cool. But in the middle of that, they spend a bunch of time on Tatooine where you meet baby Anakin Skywalker, and it really doesn't do anything for the rest of the story of the movie except to be like, hey, look, it's baby Anakin Skywalker. Because all it does is they get stuck on that planet for a little bit, and then they get off of it.
What?
That's what the
There's
whole
pod racing.
45 minutes, right? Which is cool.
This
Like
is
that's
great.
fine. It's a great scene, but it doesn't have anything to do with anything. The only thing that the pod racing scene helps is that it explains why he's a good pilot at the end of that movie. Which fine, you can have that scene in the movie without it being 45 minutes of the whole freaking movie. This is like where I was talking about the 3-act structure. The whole second act of that is nothing with the other 2 acts. And the problem is that the biggest problem with that structure then becomes that when they get to Act 3, a bunch of problems that were set up in Act 1 are just magically solved because they need to get to the fight at the end of that movie. Like that movie opens up where they meet Jar Jar Binks and they're trying to meet the Naboo that the ones that live in the water.
First one?
Yes, that's where he's introduced.
I
Is in
thought
Phantom
he was
Menace.
introduced in the second one.
No, no, you meet him. Here's the thing: you meet him in episode 1, and he has been kicked out of his underwater city because he was kind of annoying, and he like dropped something on the head of his king. That's his whole backstory. So then
I thought
he
you
takes
find
them.
that out in the second episode. In
No.
the second one.
No, he's explaining that to
100%.
them as
Wow.
they're He's explaining that to them as they're underwater going to the city.
Little Anakin goes underwater?
No, little Anakin never goes with Jar Jar Binks
Oh,
underwater.
Okay.
No.
So that's why
Little-
I'm confused.
Little Anakin only exists in episode 1. It's
Yeah.
Hayden Christensen in episode 2 going forward.
Yeah, I know. When
Yeah.
do they go back to the underwater place with Jar Jar?
They never. Maybe they do in episode 3, but as far as I know, Anakin Skywalker never goes underwater.
I thought. What? I thought they did.
I haven't
thought
rewatched
they did.
episode 3 yet, so maybe that does happen. But
I
as
don't
far as I know,
remember.
Anakin Skywalker definitely Hayden Christensen, definitely Jake Lloyd, baby Anakin Skywalker never goes underwater.
So when do they go back underwater? Without. There is a scene where they go underwater, and it could not. Maybe it doesn't have Anakin in it, but there is definitely a scene where
Yes.
I remember them swimming underwater
Yes,
to go talk to the king.
That's what I'm explaining right now.
That's
So they
the
meet Jar
first
Jar Binks in the
episode?
woods. Yes,
Oh.
they meet Jar Jar Binks because so they
Idiots.
get to. So the thing is,
All
I'm gonna
those
just
movies
do-
blend together for
I'm
me.
just going to explain all of episode 1 now. Yeah, so that movie
Jesus.
opens with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn have been sent as ambassadors to like be diplomats for this whole trade war bullshit. Then they realize that it's a scam, and so they try to escape that ship, and get back to Naboo with Queen Amidala and all that with Natalie Portman, and they get shot down. So they land outside the city, which is where they meet Jar Jar Binks in the woods, and Jar Jar Binks is like, I can get you to the city, but we have to use an underwater thing, and the only way to do that is to go back to my city and get a ship. But, problem being, I'm not allowed in the city because I'm annoying. Except that then they just go to the city and it's fine. Like that's my first he's like, oh yeah, I was exiled because I'm kind of an annoying person. Cool, weird thing to be exiled from your society from, but sure. Then they go to the city. And they go to the king, and the king is like, I'm going to give you a ship just to get this annoying guy out of my city again. Go away. Like, that's the whole scene.
Oh my god! I
So
thought
he le-
all
so-
of that
so-
happened in the second movie.
Nope, that's all episode 1. That's the whole opening of that's all of Act 1. So
What?
they get Queen Amidala, and they're like, okay, so we've got to take Queen Amidala and go back to the Galactic Senate to do this thing. Okay, cool. So they go to do the Galactic Senate, and there's like, okay, back to Naboo. Oh wait, we were shot down on Tatooine because we shot down again. So then they spend 45 minutes on Tatooine trying to get a part for their ship, which is where you get Anakin in the pod race and everything.
Wait. Okay.
So that's where you get Anakin in the pod race and everything. That all works out. They get on the ship again, and then they go back to Naboo. And then it's like, okay, now we've got to fight the droid army. Hey, what if we got the fish people to like us and do that? Cool. Let's have one conversation with them. And then, again, completely forget that Jar Jar Binks was exiled from his society. He's cool with everybody again, so he's part of this fight. And then they do it. Like, everything is just like a one conversation, one and done thing because all of the middle part of that where you would be like doing things to build up to that can't happen because they're on Tatooine doing Anakin Skywalker bullshit.
Well, they teach you about the midichlorians.
Oh.
Midichlorians.
I
Which
thought
I don't
I was
understand why. I don't understand why people hate midichlorians.
People hate midichlorians because the idea was supposed to be that the force is something you feel, not a scientific thing you can measure in people. Like that's what it really
But
is
it
that the idea of the
makes
force
more
being,
sense.
but the whole idea is that the force is not supposed to make sense. That's why you have to train in it as a Jedi. The second you
Yeah,
can start applying science to the force is the second you can start demystifying it. And people wanted it to continue to be a mystical thing. Of course, then
it's
you give you that
still
in Force
mystical.
Awakens. Then, of course, they give you that in Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, and it becomes, well, how can she do this, this, and that without blah, 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 blah. So, uh,
Here's the thing.
it can only be
Midichlorians,
mystical for
but
men.
no,
Anyway,
but what?
sorry. I was just like being shitty about people who are shitty about Rey again.
The midichlorians are still mystical just because it's part of. Oh my god,
Well,
it's
I mean,
so
they're not.
stupid.
They're little microbes that live in your body because of the
Yes.
force. And the question is like the problem is that it's not really fully well explained if you can only use the force because midichlorians exist or if you can only measure the force because midichlorians exist. And because that is unclear, it becomes why did you bother explaining this to me if you weren't going to make it clear?
I think it works. I don't know. I watch these movies differently than people.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have much of a problem. I still don't really have much of a problem with it. It's just one of those things where if I think about it too much, then I start to just have to want to strangle somebody because it's like, like I said, I would rather, if you're going to give me that explanation, give me the full explanation or just don't bother. It's the idea of like the whole thing existed because it was a plot device to be like, hey, we found this strong force kid. So we need an excuse for why this kid who's like 3 years older than we usually start training Jedi should be trained as a Jedi. So we made up a bullshit measurement to explain why it was important.
He has a shit ton of the force in him because he has a shit ton of midichlorians.
Right.
It makes sense.
Right. But but I think the other idea is that if he had that much of the force in him, Qui-Gon should have fucking felt that the second he walked in the room. There's no reason for him to have to measure that. That's, you know what I mean? He walks into a room with the most powerful Jedi in the world, and you don't get a bunch of people going, ooh, we feel the Force like fucking crazy off this kid. Because everything else has been, I feel the Force. I feel this. I felt an entire fucking planet die out from across the galaxy. So, like, the idea that you need to measure the Force at all is, like, a weird thing. Because, like, you can feel it.
Could it be because Anakin also has a lot of the dark side? Could it be because Anakin was built in a test tube?
Yeah, but they can feel the dark side. They spend the entire movie saying we didn't understand what was going on with this, this, and this because the dark side was clouding our minds, which means they know that they can feel the dark side too.
But what
he walks in the room and Yoda literally says to him, "I feel the fear in you." Okay, but you don't feel the fucking thousands of midichlorians of force coming off of him?
Well, because Anakin was built in a test tube.
No, he was built out of midichlorians in her womb. I don't think he was ever in a tube.
I think he was a test tube baby.
I mean, he's essentially a test tube baby.
Yeah, he is a test tube baby, and I think that is why they can't censor. It's cool. It's cool to Dayle Decker. It's why I like Anakin. It's why. Fuck Star Wars.
So anyway, that's my problem. That's my problem with episode 1. Episode 2. No, I'm not gonna go deep into it. But episode 2 is just like.
I mean, I hear what you're saying on it.
Yeah, and my big problem with episode 2 is that there's versions of both of these movies. Again, the same way I rewrote Return of the Jedi in my head to be like, fuck Ewoks, it's all awesome Wookiees instead. Like, cool. That would have been cool, but no, we got Ewoks, whatever. Like, episode 1 and 2, I can rewrite in my brain to be like, oh, here's a version of this story that actually works. It's just not the version in front of me because this version in front of me doesn't work on a bunch of levels. And like episode 2, I don't see how they got together. I don't see it because there's like one scene where he's making her really uncomfortable and then they spend a bunch of time rolling in a field and now they're in love. It's like, come on. But then you get like the whole scene in the desert where he kills all the sand, the Tusken Raiders, which is a great, like, it's emotional scene, and you can see where they have a connection, and cool. That's a very emotional, powerful scene for their relationship. Also, it only happens because there's 1-2 seconds where he has a bad dream and then decides he needs to abandon his quest to save his mother or to find his mother, which he only like you could have spent the whole movie having a whole conversations about him missing his mother. They have one at the beginning, they have one bad dream, and then he goes and kills a bunch of people. Like, it's just like, it's so much structured as you know that this is bad that this guy's going to be a bad guy at some point. So like, why would we even bother to build up any of that? You'll just watch him do shitty things for a little while, and then he's a bad guy. So I'm loving Star Wars, by the way. I like
Oh my
Star Wars.
god. I just have learned that I don't remember these movies at all. Like, I remember the things I want to remember from the movies, and that's it. I don't know. Maybe I don't want to rewatch them. That's the thing. I want to rewatch Force Awakens. That's the movie I want to rewatch.
Fine. I still think you should rewatch Last Jedi at least once, but you know.
The only reason why I want to rewatch Last Jedi is for those crystal foxes and the really cool scene of them flying over the white sand and it's red sand underneath. Those are the only two things I want to watch, and the Casino Planet, because Rose is awesome. Those are the three things from Last Jedi that I remember and like. But I still like Star Wars. But I think
It sounds like I don't like Star Wars from all of this. I like Star Wars.
I just don't
I wouldn't
like
be this
Star
mad
Wars
if I
as much
didn't
as
also
other
like
people.
the story.
I love Solo. I could talk about Solo.
I haven't
Maybe.
rewatched that. I haven't
I need to
rewatched that since I saw it in theaters.
Yeah, I don't even remember that much of that. I just remember loving it. Solo and Force Awakens. Those are my two favorite Star Wars movies. Get at me.
Bite me. Bite me about
Fight
it.
me about it.
That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's the thing in all of this is that I'm sitting here because this is just how I like to experience things.
No, and that's
large
fine.
chunks
That's
of
totally
complete
fine.
shit. But like,
But it's gonna be Zack watching the MCU all over again.
oh my god, I forgot I did that. That's the other thing.
How?
You know,
How could you forget you did that?
because
You
my brain
tweeted
remembers.
about it.
I know, and my brain remembers the movies, but it does not remember ever. Does not remember that I spent all that time doing that. So.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, I'm really excited to play Fallen Order and play more Fallen Order. I just haven't bought it yet. Yeah. But the thing about Fallen Order for me is that it doesn't. The reason why I like it is that it doesn't feel like a Star Wars thing. It feels like it takes place in the Star Wars world, but it doesn't feel. And like I know you said it takes place, and I know that it does take place between movies. It just doesn't feel like it. It just feels so different, and that's what because I love the world of Star Wars. I just don't care enough about the characters that have already been shown to me, except for a few handful, like a very small handful of them.
Which is very funny because, like, the whole point to this series is that it's about these specific characters you don't seem to like.
No. Exactly. I've watched Star Wars. Just like you play Pokemon differently, I watch Star Wars differently.
And that's entirely fair. That's entirely good. I finally am also rewatching. So the whole Clone Wars thing is ridiculous because there are 3 different things named Clone Wars.
Yes.
And they're all, well, only 2 of them are technically canon. Although, so before episode 3 comes out, episode 2, Attack of the Clones, episode 3 is Revenge of the Sith. They decide they get the guy that made Samurai Jack and Powerpuff Girls and Foster's Home and all that, Gendy Tartakovsky, also Hotel Transylvania, to make what they called a micro series, which was a series of 3 to 5 minute shorts of the Clone Wars, which was just, here's a bunch of battle stuff from the Clone Wars, because really they only show up for like the last big battle of Attack of the Clones. So you get like it ends up being like an hour or so of shorts, and it's the bridge between the 2 episodes, between episode 2 and episode 3. So, then Disney, then you get the Clone Wars movie, which is in 2008. So that's after Revenge of the Sith is out. So they decide they're going to do a Clone Wars movie, which technically would come after the micro series, but technically would be its own standalone thing. It's very confusing. This is where the canon starts to get all wonky. So like technically, the way that like like the whole scar on Anakin's eye and his long hair and all of that
Mm-hmm.
all comes between episode 2 and 3. And you actually see in the micro series the whole thing where you actually they show you where he gets the scar, and they show you between a couple of there's like 2 or 3 seasons of it where his hair gets longer. So it's actually like an explanation for all of that. And then when the Clone Wars movie comes out, he's already got the scar and the long hair again. So like, okay, so I guess you could theoretically plop this in between the micro series and Revenge of the Sith, and it still works. Cool. Then Disney freaking comes along, and it's like, oh, we're actually wiping the extended universe canon, but we're keeping the Clone Wars movie, but we're getting rid of the Clone Wars micro series, and also this Clone Wars TV show that started, which technically is a sequel to the movie, is going to still exist, but that doesn't technically negate the micro series. It gets wacky. It gets so wacky
Yeah,
because
I'm
now there's
lost.
3 things in the world that exist. There's the micro series, there's the movie, and now there's a regular ass TV series that still has another season coming,
Really?
all called the Clone Wars.
Jeez.
So
It's ridiculous.
So I just decided I'm going to watch all of them and just not bother trying to decide what's canon and what's not there.
Well,
Just
there you
jumble
go.
them all together and watch them, because so far I haven't watched anything that contradicts contradicts the micro series. So there's no reason for it to not be canon as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Might as well just watch it.
Yeah.
Plus, it just looks good. You got all these great shots of all these beautifully like hand-drawn shots of like Mace Windu taking out entire fucking droid armies. uh
Oh man.
So that's where I'm at. We're about to start the Clone Wars series itself proper.
Nice. Well, maybe we'll come back and see how.
I'll update you all
you've
next week
done.
and see where we're at. That's it's 6 seasons
Oh my
that
God.
exist right now. 7th one comes out next year. It's 120 episodes, all 22 minutes. That's 60 hours. I have to figure out how to watch 60 hours of a TV show relatively quickly.
Oh my God.
And I can do that
Oh!
because I'm all caught up on my DC stuff because Crisis starts on Sunday.
Oh my God.
So-
I think I'm like 1 episode behind on Supergirl and
And you
very
and
behind
seasons
on.
behind on everything else?
Well, seasons behind on everything else, and behind on Catwoman. Not Catwoman. Why did I just say Catwoman?
Because it's Batwoman, so it's
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, Batwoman. Watch the first episode of Batwoman, and it's great. Loved it. Loved the first episode. Yeah. What was I
It
gonna say?
it only gets more scene chewy and more ridiculous as it goes.
Good.
It's great.
Oh, last thing I want to say, and then I think I'm good. I don't think I have anything else to really talk about. I have listened. So Spotify has like your decade in review or whatever.
Uh-huh.
I have listened to just this year over 13,400 and something minutes of music.
Jesus Christ.
Yep. I don't know how many minutes are in a year, Zach.
I could probably Google that very quickly. I was trying to decide how much that translated into hours.
Yeah.
That's 217 hours of music. That's
Yeah.
less ridiculous sounding when you put
less
it that way.
ridiculous sounding when you put it that way. But yeah, it was really good. My band of the decade was Bowling for Soup.
Of course. No surprise there.
I discovered like over 200 new groups or new artists, but the one I vibed with the most, that's
Vibed with.
literally what it says.
I'm sure
The
it does.
The one I vibed with the most was the Regrets. So hey, call out to the Regrets.
Hey, we're the monkeys.
Hey,
Yes.
hey. But yeah, that's it. I like the number of 13,400 something minutes of music.
I sat down to try and like write down how many games I've played this year. I mean, finished is a much smaller number, but like, you remember?
played
Just played Kingdom Hearts 3 was the beginning of this year.
I know.
We streamed that
I-
when I moved back in February.
I know. It was ridiculous. I had the flu.
Oh
Devin
man.
and I and Joe had the flu.
Oh, it's a long year.
God, ridiculous.
I
Yeah,
think that's gonna be it for this week.
This has been the Say Report Jr. It's not the Say Report. This has been Say Report Jr. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to find us or talk to us or listen to anything, we are available on all of your podcast apps. We're available on Spotify. You can find us on YouTube if you search Say Report Jr. You can find us on Twitter at sayreportjr, and you can find both of us individually. I am at Dale's Brain.
I am at Zerwisky.
Woo! I want ice cream or a milkshake. We should get ice cream.
So excited for Crisis. I cannot wait. Cannot wait. That's all we're going to talk about next week. Bye.
Great. Take it away, Liz.
Thank you for listening to The Say Report with your hosts Dayle Decker and Zack. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.